Hey guys, welcome back. So I am in the middle of modding those mannequins. I'm still trying to piece together a full video, but one of the things I have to tackle here is adding. I had to cut the heads off, and they need to be detachable, but also when they're attached, they need to be able to be positioned, rotated a little bit. So I was trying to figure out a good solution to this, and what I'm going to do is use these PVC fittings. There's two end caps here that can fit together, and I'll put the female version in the neck of the mannequin, and the male version will be embedded in the head like this, and will stick down, and you'll be able to attach the head and rotate it however you want. There's a couple issues. For one, the opening of some of these mannequins isn't quite symmetrical, which is going to be a little interesting, but I'm going to work around that. We'll get to that probably in another video. But for now, the way I'm going to mount these plugs was something I was trying to figure out the best scenario, best solution, I should say. And to get them centered and figured out the way I want, it was going to be tricky, but I think I got a pretty good method worked out here. So I have the fittings here. So what I'm going to do is I need to basically embed this in some fiberglass and make a fiberglass sheet with this embedded so that I can find the center as best as possible and then attach it to the head. Now, how I'm going to do that is I've taken a coffee container like this, and I've cut a hole in the top, and I stuck the little adapter through the hole. Now, to my recollection, I could be wrong here, the fiberglass doesn't stick really great to this plastic, so I figure I can basically lay up a bit of Bondo resin, which is Bondo mixed with fiberglass resin, and it's liquidy, but it kind of makes like a paste. I'll paint that in here, get it up on the sides of the object, and then lay fiberglass in there. So this will be embedded in a sheet of fiberglass, and if everything goes correctly, I should be able to pull off this plastic and have just a fiberglass sheet with a smooth top with a plug embedded in it. And the fiberglass will be wrapped around all these little knurls so it'll hold it in place so it won't move around. And then I'll be able to take that piece of fiberglass and attach it to the head, which will be good. And I'm going to do something similar for the base. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard like this. And since the base, this is going to be pretty much flush with the surface of the neck, I'm going to glue it down like this on the base. And then fiberglass right on here. I'm not really as concerned with this one because I can just sand it flush on the top and get if any fiberglass stuck to the cardboard, which it will be. I'll just sand it off really quick. It'll take about 2 seconds with my orbital sander, and that'll be gone. So I'm going to hot glue these guys with my hot glue gun here to the cardboard where I want. Doesn't need to be perfect. I just need to have it stationary like this, so that when I make a sheet, I have enough area around this that I can cut and make the top of the neck. And we'll get back to this in a second, and I'll show you what I'm doing. In order to plug up these little caps, I've cut out from some of that floor mat foam a couple little, basically little cap covers here that are just going to stick down in the base. They're not going to do anything. They're basically inert. They're just to fill the cap so that once I put some resin over this, it doesn't get through onto the inside. So one thing that could help with releasing this cardboard, I'm not super concerned with this, but I'm going to put down a little bit of a release agent. You can use car wax. Pure Carnauba car wax will work. They make specific mold release waxes that you would use if you're doing like fiberglass on fiberglass types of castings where your mold is made of fiberglass and your casting is made of fiberglass. You need to run like a lot of release layers. You need a release wax inside at bare minimum. I have some of that wax. It's basically the same as Carnauba wax. Another one that is really good is Sonite wax. I like this stuff a lot. I'm going to put a little bit of this on the cardboard, and you just apply it with a brush. And this is going to help it a little bit from sticking to the surface. I don't want to get it on my item here, my PVC fitting. I just want it to be on the cardboard to help make a little bit of a barrier. A little bit of this stuff goes a very long way. So I'm coating the whole surface using a brush. I like the Sonite wax because it seems to dry really fast and it doesn't smell so gross. Some of the other waxes have pretty strong smells to them that I do not like. But Sonite wax is good. I get this from Reynolds. This is the Smooth On brand. I'm sure you can get this other places. I've never looked for it other places, but I'm sure that you can find it through some other companies. So this is probably not going to be perfect, but it'll do a sufficient job, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out in a little bit. There we go. So this is what it is. It's called Sonite wax. I've used to buy the little tiny containers, and even the small containers still last a very long time. This one will probably last me forever. I keep a brush. I always write on my brushes if I use them for something other than fiberglass, or even though this is just a cheap chip brush, I just write Sonite. I keep it with my wax like this, sometimes with a rubber band around them like that. And same thing if I use Vaseline or any other something for release. I always keep the brushes separate because you don't want to use this brush by accident in resin or with your fiberglass, because the wax that's on here will ruin your project for sure. All right, let's get back to it. So I'm mixing the Bondo resin, and what this is, there are lots of videos out there on making this stuff. It's basically Bondo. I've got a whole bunch in here. It's a straight Bondo. You can use any number of brands of body fillers. Usually will work as long as it's polyester based. This is Bondo, and then I'm using polyester marine laminating resin for my other part, and I basically am going to pour this. I kind of eyeball this honestly, but it's about a 50-50 split between the two is usually the consistency that I like. You can adjust to taste. Sometimes I'll go a little heavier on the Bondo if I need it to cling better to the sides, and sometimes I will go heavier on the resin if I need it to actually, this is boring because I'm doing this off screen, sorry. Sometimes I'll do it with more resin if I need it to just spread thinner? Yeah, I guess thinner is the right word. You'll see as I scoop this, every once in a while you'll get a chunk of Bondo that sticks to this the stick here. And if you let it sit for a few minutes, it'll get really, really smooth, which is what you want. To catalyze this, you're going to use a little bit of the Fiberglass MEKP, which is the hardener for fiberglass, and I'm also going to use the body filler catalyst, which comes in these tubes, the cream hardener. You can get this in different colors. I think I have blue here, probably have red also, but you need a little bit of both. This is just, I always eyeball this. I kind of estimate how much fiberglass I've used and how much Bondo, and then I put in what I think is the appropriate amount. I really haven't had it go bad on me, so I guess I'm doing it okay. But that's one of those things where if you have a little bit experience with fiberglass and a little bit of experience with Bondo, each on their own, it'll make this process a lot easier, because knowing the kind of general mix ratios that work seems to help with this. So now this is also kind of makeshift gel coat. It's I have real polyester gel coat, and it's really, really good, but it's a lot more expensive than doing this. So my battery died during the exciting part while I was fiberglassing these things on here. These are clearly just done quickly. Let me see if this will separate, and it totally does. I was right. So now I have this plug here, fiberglass ring with the plug integrated into it, which will go, sorry about the dog, which is going to go basically on the bottom of the head like this. So what I'm going to do is figure out where I kind of want this placed, and then trim this down to match the bottom of the head, and then that will be fitted on there. I'll probably make it so it fits just inside, and then glass it into place right on the bottom. And I will do the same with the other part. Let's see if that other stuff comes off of the cardboard with my wax release. Oh, that is down here. Again, they're really ugly. I just slapped them together. The bottom half doesn't really matter. I just threw the glass on there. Endless. So yeah, so you can see that Sonite wax worked really nicely. It's separating from the cardboard, no problem. There we go. So there's our fiberglass sheet, nice and smooth. Came right off, no problem. No cardboard even stuck to it at all. Let's see if it fits this mannequin here. Alright, so I'm back. Mannequin. head, and basically this will sit inside. I'll level this off real nice, and then we'll have the plug in the top of the neck, and this will just all be trimmed to fit, and it should work nicely, I believe. Put this down. And so let's take one last look at this thing. See if they still fit together the way they should. And they totally do. So there's our top and bottom sections for our mannequin neck. I'll get these things installed in a little bit, and we'll take a look again once they are attached to the mannequin, or at least maybe in progress. Alright, so I've trimmed down these parts here with the tubing inside. You can see this ugly bottom, doesn't matter in this situation. Now this is going to fit right on top of here, like this. And I'll basically trim that to fit. But what I do is I center this as best as possible, and I will coat the inside here with a big glob of Bondo, and then I'll also put a huge glob of Bondo around the outside of this. So when I mate this together, it's kind of like using fiberglass mud, which is made from, you can make it with Cabasil or like a urethane filler, and it basically makes the fiberglass resin like a pasty consistency. That's what they do to join a lot of fiberglass parts together. Same thing, just use Bondo. You can basically stick this in place like this, and then we will take the other end, which I have over here. Sorry. And once this is set, I will plug this into here, and I will sand this down to fit inside the top of the head. So that'll all connect, and then I'll take the head and do a similar process where I will Bondo the top of this and Bondo the inside of the head, and set the head down and let it find its level point and make sure it's nice and centered, and then it lines up with the neck nicely. And once that's all secured, I can take it all apart, and then it'll look like this over here. So here's the female mannequin. You can see it's a pretty smooth seam line, but then we can take the head off. Now this isn't completely filled in on the bottom yet. I'll do that before the finishing, but basically that's how you do this. So you can see that plugs in. You can rotate the head if you want. It's a nice snug fit if you do it correctly, and there it is. So I'll get back. I'm going to do these mannequin updates in multiple videos because I've lost so many weird steps here and there that I think trying to do one giant video is pointless at this point. That's what I was going to say. Pathetic. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing parts like this. This is the rough version. You see it's connected. It's relatively smooth. When I get into doing the finishing stuff for the mannequins, I'll cover some other parts. That finishing kind of sanding and filling, etc., will apply to pretty much any fixes you'll make on the mannequins from there on out. So this, arms, you can see this is all rough. So I'll get these things all sanded in and smooth and good to go. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. I'll be back with more updates soon.